Hello and welcome to the show. We start this week's Downhill Chaos with a BMW M3 Touring. Thought we'd give a nice, fairly normal car. I quite like this. Mod. It's nice to see the estate car, the touring version of this, rather than kind of the more commonly sort of variant of the M3. On the first attempt, things may not have gone quite according to plan. It's relatively fast. I may have slightly missed my braking points into the first corner. I was quite surprised by how quick this thing picked up speed. Didn't really get stopped, and then we go rolling off down the side of the mountain. The BMW does roll really quite well. This thing does quite like to fall over, and once it gets started, you're not really going to stop the car rolling. You know, the speed was actually catching me out a little bit with this vehicle, which is it's kind of a good thing. You want to have a fast car. Again, another incident. I just outbraked myself ever so slightly. It's a commonplace. We've seen plenty of cars do that through there. I didn't quite realise how quick we were going to pick up speed. Didn't quite jump on the brakes in time, and the BMW went for a rather big tumble. But as you see, once this car does start rolling, it is spectacular. This time I just almost got it under control. Not quite a spectacular flip. I got the braking a little bit right. I was really hoping I could ride that out. It was just so much on the limit on the way through those fast corners. Sadly for me, it didn't quite work. Now, the car rolling over was a little bit of an issue. I think the centre of mass may be a little bit too high on the BMW, because it does have a tendency to fall over through really, really heavy cornering. And on a course like this, where there are lots of bankings, lots of bumps, it was quite easy to see this car roll. I mean, it's very much a FailRace vehicle. I also love how I almost managed to land it nicely. So close to landing it nicely. We actually managed to end up in a really peculiar place. Don't normally see cars down this part of the mountain. I think it's the first time I've actually had a car end up over that side by the bridge there. Peculiar place to have an accident. Again, I was getting so close to saving some of these. It was a really long way on two wheels that time, and then it eventually kind of fell over a little bit. Very, very much a FailRace vehicle. This one was incredibly easy to roll. I don't know how many rolls this thing did. It was an awful lot. Other issues, the bushes, as you might expect. I was going straight through there, and then you hit the bushes. It just flicks the car sideways, and that's just enough. That's all it takes. You just hit that bush is enough to throw you off course, because it is a fast part of the track. It went around in a circle, and again, a similar incident. I was a little bit more out of control that time. The bush just did enough to drag it onto its side. I do kind of like the way the car sort of digs in when it's sliding across the grass. I do quite like that, the way it digs in and then goes for a roll. Just pushing it a little bit too much again down that section, and the BMW, pretty much there was no real small accidents with the BMW. It was most likely to go for multiple tumbles with this car. It took a few attempts. Another thing with it is it does get a lot of airtime as well across the jumps. You could get an awful lot of hang time over these jumps with the BMW if you weren't careful. I mean, the trick really with this car was to be a little bit cautious with it. If you try and attack the corners with too much speed, you're probably going to roll, or you're going to outbrake yourself and then bump off a wall and then probably roll anyway. So, for the actual fast runs, to get a clean run out of the car, you did have to be a little bit careful. You couldn't go cutting the corners. You couldn't try and cut the hairpin here. You try and cut the hairpin, you're going to end up on your roof. You try and cut most of these corners with large bankings on the inside, you're going to end up on your roof. Now, we didn't actually have massive problems with the bumps as such. So, like through here, you see how the car gets sort of bounced around and thrown up in the air. It didn't cause the car to go massively oversteering. We didn't have any of them issues. It was just had to be aware of getting the vehicle up onto two wheels. Because the second it got up onto two wheels, it was pretty much going to go over. And as I said at the start, it was a pretty fast car, actually. I was impressed with the speed of this. It got to some decent speeds, so you had to be aware that when you wanted to get it slowed down, that you're actually travelling at a half decent pace. As we come up towards this second to last corner, I was being careful through here. There are some big nasty bumps, but the BMW was okay. over them. And around the final turn, I didn't quite take it flat out in this car, knowing that it would take a tiny sort of brush on a bank would cause it to roll at those sort of speeds. So I did have to have a little bit of a lift, but the BMW made it down the course. Oh, and we had to finish with the car. With the car rolling across the jump. Again, some BMXers, or mountain bikers, sorry, got some fantastic selfies over there. And just to be extra sure for the finish, there we go. I wasn't intending on rolling it there, I'll be honest, I just meant to spin it round. But I think that is perhaps the most suitable pose to finish the BMW's run down the mountain. Yeah, quite a good fun car to drive, actually. But yeah, did roll over a little bit. Up next, we have got a Holden, a classic Holden Monaro. Is it HQ GTS, I believe, is the one. This, I saw an Australian muscle car, and it was going to have to be driven down Mt Chiliad. And the second I started this car, the second I started this descent, I knew this was going to be a good car. It is a really, admittedly, the hiker perhaps isn't too keen on it, but this first run through here, the speed that I took with this car, the way it dealt with the bumps, really very, very impressive. It did really well on the landing. Unfortunately, I did take a little bit too much speed, and on that landing, it started twitching, and the issue with the course here is so narrow. Once you start losing that control, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, because you just can't do anything, especially when you've got stuff in the way, and so on. This is a really, really nice car. Absolutely lovely vehicle to drive down here. I may have pushed my luck a little bit. After such a fantastic first attempt, may have pushed my luck a little bit too much. Outbraked myself. Again, trying to get the speed down here. Well, on the first attempt, I got the opening jump really, really well. Honestly, you're probably better off just being a little bit slower, making sure you can be neat and then you can be fast after the jumps and onto the little straight. So, yeah, I was pushing my luck, trying to get the sort of the perfect jump. But yeah, being neater is often the way to go. This bit here caused a little bit of issues down here, trying to get this corner right. I think the car kind of slightly gets bounced up in the air, and it kind of forces it a little bit wide. And yeah, twice in almost exactly the same way I had issues, which is unusual. That corner doesn't normally cause problems unless it's a particularly bad handling car. In this, it's a really very, very good handling car. Didn't take particularly long at all to get a clean run out of the Holden, because it is a really bloody nice car to drive. I mean, you can kind of tell how much confidence I have in a vehicle by how much I'll attack those jumps, if I'll get a lot of airtime or whether I'll be cautious over there. And in this car, you could really attack it. I mean, you know, as I said, you need an element of caution. If you go too crazy over them, you will slow yourself down. But I could attack the jumps with an awful lot in this car. And yeah, that's really a testament to just how good it is to drive. Problem-wise, there really wasn't any problems. Suspension dealt with the bumps very, very well. Plenty of power, decent acceleration in this car. We're coming around here. That's big airtime across there. It gets a tiny bit sideways, but it's so manageable. And again, I can attack the inside there, get the car slightly airborne even, and it's still got enough grip to sort itself out by the time we get to the next corner. I had a little issue on the landing. That landing it didn't particularly like. I got bounced ever so slightly wide. Now we come down to the fast section, and still, I was really pushing it down there, and there really wasn't any problems with the Holden. I ran it quite wide. I ran it quite close to the edge of the course there, but it dealt with everything it could throw at it. Even the back end getting thrown up through the bumps, no issues through there. Flat out around the final corner, and it is across the line for the Holden. A little bit of a spin with the bush there, just tipping the car sideways. Yeah, this was a really very, very good car. Okay, we're not quite got supercar acceleration on it. It's not got that power, but it is one of my favourite cars I think I have had to drive down Mt Chiliad. That's how good this thing is. Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic down the course. Very, very little in the way of flaws with that vehicle. Our final car, well, this has literally just come out when I went to do this downhill chaos. I had to have a go with it though. Yep, we've got a Batmobile, because I can. It's got the full four-wheel steering. It looks fantastic. I was very much looking forward to seeing how this thing would fare down Chiliad. Spits lots of fire. I can do a big flamethrower from the exhaust. Now, I will be honest, the four-wheel steering is a little bit peculiar to get used to. It is really a rather weird handling car, this thing. It's very, very, very fast accelerating. but incredibly bizarre handling. Also, a little bit too wide for the course, as I quickly find out. I dipped the wheels over the edge. I was trying to avoid the bushes, because the bushes are like the super slow-mo one. So I tried to avoid them, and in doing so, dipped the wheel over the edge, caught the bottom of the car, and it got stuck. Ride height is perhaps not quite what you would want from a Batmobile when going off-road. But, yeah, the whole four-wheel steer was very bizarre, as you see me having troubles getting to grips with it. In the end, that was my second run with the car. I didn't really quite get the hang of it at that point. It was a really, really bizarre handling thing to try and get the hang of. And then there is so much speed in it that yeah, when you're trying to get going after making a slight error, I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, and we just did all sorts of bizarre and silly things. You can get the car to crab quite well and everything. It's a difficult one to drive. One thing I did notice is it's almost slightly sluggish to react. When we turn into this corner here, I'm expecting it to kind of grip a little bit soon. It just takes a little bit of time for it to find grip, and then sometimes you'll get massive amounts of grip when you're at slightly lower speeds. It's a peculiar one. Very quick accelerating when you can get it out of the corners, and when you're not sort of bouncing and bumping around all over the place, as again we go exploring in a slightly peculiar place. The ride height is also not fantastic on this car. As you saw, the very first attempt had some issues with the car bottoming out. I may have got a little bit carried away with the speed, trying to get away with a bit too much, and it didn't quite work. The brakes are phenomenal. The brakes are absolutely amazing on this vehicle, and the grip is pretty good, and I think the grip is perhaps what causes a little bit of the problems, is that there is sort of so much grip in this vehicle that it kind of feels so much grip at some points that yeah, it kind of feels a little bit weird trying to get this thing sorted out. I had to be very careful down this opening part. It's just so narrow. You try and take too much speed down it, and the Batmobile gets in all sorts of trouble. You can kind of see, it's very hard to describe the handling, but you can kind of see the way that it takes a little bit of time to react at certain points. Not all the time. Sometimes it just takes that little bit of that little second or whatever to react to what's going on. That yeah, makes it a bit awkward. Of course, around the hairpin, really rather good. Admittedly, I get very close to the edge there, dipping one of the wheels over it. Yeah, I mean, it gets around the hairpins very well. You don't really have any need for a handbrake down this course, because the turning circle is fantastic in this. At low speeds, the turning circle is fantastic anyway. And again, you know, we're getting around here. I don't quite have the confidence like I had with the Holden. I had fantastic confidence in the Holden to be able to take speed through the corners. I can carry momentum down the course, and in this, not quite. As I said, once you do get it out of the corner, you can point it straight. It is a phenomenal accelerating thing, but there's only a few points where you can use that speed on a course like this. Again, it is quite fiddly almost to get the car down the side road. The bushes were then no problem for the Batmobile. It does not care for the bushes, which was nice. I could just sort of straight line almost through there, and admittedly I kind of had to, because the handling wasn't really cooperating at that point. Yeah, pretty much straight line down that part, and the Batmobile, well, I could fire it across the jump at the end. You can see how good the brakes are when we get it slowed down at that point there. I mean, most of the time, if you floor it across the jump, about 90 miles an hour it left that, you're not going to stop the car when it does land on the hill there. But the Batmobile is absolutely fine, and you can, of course, do some fantastic sort of donuts with the vehicle. An odd one to drive. A fantastic model, fantastic vehicle. Plenty of weaponry as well, if you're wanting weaponry. As far as getting down Mt Chiliad goes, though, it's a little too wide, and the four-wheel steer is a very peculiar thing to get used to. And of course, you've got such a, as you can see here, you've got such a huge amount of steering angle that yeah, a little bit of an odd one. On to the times, and I am not at all surprised to see the Holden go quickest of this bunch. A 1:28.6 is a very respectable time. Then it puts, it's only a fraction down on the Maserati, the Felon All-Track. It's quicker than the Guardian, the Ferrari, the Casco, the Shelby Cobra. That's a good time. That is a very good time, and it's a lovely car to drive. A really, absolutely fantastic vehicle for driving down a mountain, as it turns out. Yeah, the Holden was a really good car. A little bit further down, we find the BMW M3 in a very crowded section of the table. A 1:30.2. You know, that's up there. That's pretty decent for the kind of the more average, the more normal of the road cars. You know, it's with the Sterling, the Volvo S60. It's a decent enough time. Just have to be a bit careful with the car, because of its tendency to roll over. But I was surprised by the acceleration of the BMW. It certainly wasn't a slow car, again, when you could unleash the speed. And the Batmobile actually did a bit better than I expected. A 35.2, okay, it is down in 49th. It's quicker than the Hummer, quicker than the Daewoo, and a couple of the lowriders, and so on. It's not that far off the Windsor and the Chevrolet Kelter. That's pretty good, considering how difficult that was to drive. I was expecting a much slower time from it. Admittedly, it does make up some of its time with the blistering acceleration and phenomenal brakes. It is a fiddly one, a really fiddly one to get the hang of. But yeah, that's not too bad a time from the Batmobile. Anyway, that is it for this video. I will put a link to all of the mods that I have used in the description so you can download them, have a go with them yourself. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.